Hello, my name is Mara, and welcome to Books Like Whoa. Okay, so what I wanted to do today was touch base with you guys because back in I think like November or October, I did a sort of like preview of coming attractions of like, hey, here are some 2019 releases that I'm interested in, that I might want to read, that I want to just put on people's radars. And since then, we've gotten a lot more information about releases, especially in the first half of the year. And I think I have a much better sense of the books that I potentially would like to read that are coming out in 2019. Now, caveat here is, I think most of these are books that I want to read, and many of them are ones that I want to read when they come out. But this isn't like my 2019 new release TBR. I'm not saying I'm definitely going to get to all of these. I'm saying that of the 2019 releases that I have not yet read, because I've already read some of them, these are the ones that like I think I definitely want to read, hopefully in 2019, but maybe later. You guys probably don't care about any of that. I'm trying to clarify, this isn't me saying like I'm definitely going to read these all. These are just ones that I'm like, yeah, I do think I want to read these at some point, and they're coming out in 2019. So I just wanted to make you guys aware of that. I probably will come back later in the year and let you guys know of any kind of ones that we find out about that are coming out like more in the second half of the year, because we don't have full information on that yet. But without further ado, I'm going to share with you guys some of the 2019 releases that I think that I would like to read, and if there's any caveats there, I will let you know. I'm going to try to go roughly in order of publication here, but if I mess up on a couple of them, forgive me for that, but let's just get into it. So starting with January, NIGHTCHASER by Amanda Bouchet is a sci-fi romance. Now, I've not read her fantasy romance series that people really liked. The first one I think is called Promise of Fire or Breath of Fire. And anyway, the premise of this just sounded really fun, and I want to try to read more sci-fi this year, like including mashups, so like sci-fi romance, literary sci-fi, whatever. So that's on my list. That came out on January 1st. By the time you're seeing this, I believe that the next one, which is The Vanishing STAIR by Maureen Johnson, will have already come out. That comes out on the 22nd of January. I have that on pre-order. I'm definitely planning on reading that because Mama needs to know what happened from that cliffhanger though. So we got that one. The next three I have arcs for, so I will definitely be reading. The first is A Curse So Dark and Lonely by Brigid, Kemmerer, I think is her name, and that is like a Beauty and the Beast retelling. The Wolf and the Whale by Jordanna Max Brodsky is an Inuit Viking fantasy with a bunch of like romance elements thrown in. So yeah, very excited about that. That's also on January 29th. And then moving into February, the bind up of the 3 novellas in the BINTI trilogy from Nnedi Okorafor is being released, and I have an arc of that, so I will definitely be reading it. Also on February 5th is Black Leopard, Red Wolf by Marlon James, and this is like, I've heard it described as African Game of Thrones, and it's been getting a lot of hype. Also, the cover is gorgeous, so I'm not gonna lie, that has influenced me, but it sounds interesting. This is particularly one just because I've already got a lot of fantasy on the docket for this year. I may not get to that this year, or it may wait till later in the year, but I'm definitely intrigued by it. So that also comes out on February 5th. BLOODWITCH by Susan Dennard comes out on February 12th. You can bet your sweet macaroons that I will be reading that. So that's February 12th. Another one on February 12th that I have an arc for is Spectacle by Jodie, Lynn, Zdrok. And my takeaway from this was basically like YA historical serial killer mystery, and like, so that sounds great, so I'm looking forward to that on February 12th. Another arc that I have is Say You're Sorry by Karen Rose, which comes out on February 12th, and that is what I have termed cozy suspense, so that's a new subgenre I'm enjoying trying, so looking forward to that. A nonfiction pick I'm interested in is Biased by Jennifer Eberhardt, I believe is her name, and it's essentially, I think, exploring the science behind implicit like unconscious bias or like unconscious prejudice, so I thought that sounded interesting, so I may get an arc of that, I'm not sure. That comes out on February 26th, as does What We Buried by Kate Boorman, and I have Bethany sent me a physical arc of that, and that is like a YA thriller, so looking forward to getting to it. Okay, and then moving into March, first we have The Reign of the Kingfisher by TJ Martinson, and this is like a mystery, like procedural type thing, but it's in a world where there used to be a superhero who was protecting Chicago, and then the superhero's body was found, but now they're not sure if he's dead. This just sounds like really interesting, like kind of a genre mashup, and so I'm excited about that. That's March 5th. Another one that I'm very excited about on March 5th is Dying of Whiteness, How the Politics of Racial Resentment is Killing America's Heartland by Jonathan Metzl. That sounds like just my kind of political or current events type nonfiction, so I will 100% be getting to that. A lot of these nonfiction picks are essentially me looking and seeing what my audio picks of the year are going to be. So there's that one. And then on the 12th, I believe, yeah, The Tesla Legacy by KK Perez is coming out, which is a YA sci-fi, if I remember rightly. And this is one that Bethany at Beautifully Bookish Bethany really enjoyed, so I thought that I would give it a try as well. Again, I'm trying to read a little bit more sci-fi this year. So then another arc that I have is The Fifth Doctrine by Karen Robards, and again, it's, I believe, in the kind of genre that I have termed cozy suspense, and so that's something I'm trying to read more of this year, and that comes out March 19th. Then on March 26th is the latest Richard Rohr book called The Universal Christ, How a Forgotten Real Can Change Everything We See, Hope For, and Believe. And Richard Rohr is a kind of, I'm just interested in his take on metaphysics, so I would like to potentially read that. What else? Anything else in March? I think that might be it for March. So moving into April, I definitely want to read Why Young Men, Rage, Race, and the Crisis of Identity by Jamil Javani. That sounded like a really great nonfiction pick for me. I think sometime in April, the US edition of Normal People by Sally Rooney is coming out. And that is a book that I have heard so much hype for and like mentioned so many times in the 2018 Best of wrap up, the EU or UK edition. So I'm excited for that. Like I said, I think I heard that comes out in April. Sometime in April, we're getting The Austen Playbook by Lucy Parker, and Lucy Parker is one of my favorite contemporary romance authors, so I will definitely be picking that up. I love her West End London little series she has going, and that will be the 4th one in that series. I have an arc for Wicked Saints by Emily Duncan, and this is a YA like fantasy or like alternative dystopia kind of situation that I've heard a lot of hype for, so I'm frankly just kind of interested to be in on the hype for that one because it sounded like a book that I might actually enjoy, and when I can, I like to kind of get in on the hype a little bit just to see. So then also on the 4th of April, either the 4th or the 9th, I have different dates listed, Holy Sister by Mark Lawrence, which is the 3rd in the Book of the Ancestors series, will come out, so I'm hoping that by then I have read Grey Sister and the novella Bound, and I will be like ready to receive that 3rd book with open arms. Another nonfiction pick that I definitely will be looking for in audio is Charged by Emily Bazelon, and I believe that this is essentially about the ongoing issue in America of prosecutors overcharging people as a way to coerce them into taking plea deals, as well as I think some other topics around that, but particularly kind of that troubling trend and how various kind of new, there's like this whole blue wave thing and how various people who are getting elected as attorney generals in different states or district attorneys are kind of trying to help reverse that trend as a part of how we deal with the problem of mass incarceration in the US, so definitely excited for that. On the 18th, there's a memoir by Sophie Hagen called Happy Fat. The subtitle is Taking Up Space in a World That Wants You to Shrink. Yeah, anytime women in general talk about like feeling guilty or wrong or whatever for taking up space, that's always something that I'm interested in. I just think that's an interesting kind of thread or like metaphor for the female experience, so excited for that. Then on the 23rd, oh, am I excited, because Storm of Locusts by Rebecca Roanhorse is coming out that day, which is the follow-up to Trail of Lightning, which I just read and am so excited to find out what happens next, so very excited for that one. Also on the 23rd, Ragged Alice by Gareth Powell, I believe is the author's name, is coming out, and it sounds like it's essentially like a police procedural with fantasy elements to it, and I am down for that, so excited for it. And then I also have an arc for Getting Hot with the Scot by Melanie Johnson, which just sounds like a fun contemporary romance. Somebody on the publicity team sent me a little email and I was like, oh yeah, that sounds like tropes that I would like. So that's coming out at the end of April. Okay, a few for May. First, we have The Witches Are Coming by Lindy West, which I think is essentially going to be an analysis of like women coming into traditionally male-dominated pop culture spaces and like how that goes. very excited for that. The Bride Test by Helen Huang, which is the follow-up to the Kiss Quotient last year, so I'm very excited for that. That should be a really engaging contemporary romance, and it's with the hero from the Kiss Quotient's cousin, and I'm excited for it for sure. Middle Game is a middle grade book from Shauna McGuire that's coming out, and it just sounded like it had a really cool kind of fantasy premise to it, so I'm hoping that I can get to that. May 7th is just like a big day for me, apparently. The Lost and the Lonely by Jennifer Lynn Barnes is coming out that day, and it is a YA mystery that is like got something to do with like search and rescue, and I absolutely love the Natural series by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, so anytime she's dipping her toes into YA mystery, I'm here for it. Okay, and then another nonfiction pick that I see as being a good audio pick for me is called No Visible Bruises by Rachel Louise Snyder. And this is I think about nonfiction that sort of is delving into domestic abuse in the US and like how it is a really widespread problem that we're like basically not dealing with. And I've kind of heard murmurings about that in the past before, but I would really just honestly like to know more. Like I always have it in the back of my mind, like what would I do for a friend if they were in that situation? I just don't think I know enough to be helpful. So anyway, I just think that will be interesting, sad, and informative. And then on the 21st of May, we have The Missing Season, but like mystery-wise, but into YA. So I'm excited to give that a try. Also on the 21st is Cliff's Edge by Meg Tilly, another in what I am calling cozy suspense. I read the first one, Soulless Island, earlier, or like at the end of last year, and I enjoyed it. So I would like to continue with the series. And then also on the 21st of May is The Dark Fantastic, which is race and the imagination from Harry Potter to the Hunger Games. So I just think that sounds really interesting. It's by Ebony Elizabeth Thomas. So yeah, definitely very interested to kind of, I don't know, like I don't think I've ever read something specifically like a kind of a literary study of YA with race as the lens. So I think that sounds really interesting. And then a few more. So Wolf Rain by Nalini Singh comes out on June 4th. That is the next installment in the Side Changeling series. I am almost caught up. I only have one book left to finish catching up in the Side Changeling series, so definitely would like to do that. Another audio pick for me is Confirmation Bias by Carl Hulse, and I think it's specifically kind of in our current age. I think he works for the Washington Post. Anyway, the description sounded really good, and I thought, oh yeah, that's a nonfiction audio pick for me for sure. Then Penny Reed is starting a new series that are based off of takes on each of the Jane Austen novels, and the first one is called Pride and Dad Jokes. Comes out on July 29th, and I just think that sounds like a super cute idea, so I'm keeping my eyes open for that. Then Ibram X. Kendi, who wrote my far and away my favorite nonfiction pick of 2018, which was Stand From the Beginning, has a memoir coming out called How to Be an Anti-Racist on August 20th, so I will definitely keep my eyes open for that. There's also a collection of short stories called The World Doesn't Require You by Ryan Almulcar Scott, I think is how you might say that. And basically it's positing a world in which there was a successful slave uprising, I think in Georgia, pre-Civil War, and like then it's all stories from within that area that had the successful uprising. So I just think that sounds like a super interesting premise, and I love short stories, so that's kind of the short story collection I'm most looking forward to this year. Then to kind of start wrapping things up, 2 sequels that are coming out in September. One is the 3rd book in the Heartstone trilogy from L. Catherine White, so I haven't read the 2nd one yet, which came out at the end of 2018, but the next one then comes out in 2019, so definitely want to read that. And then finally, Grace Draven has a follow-up to Phoenix Unbound, which I read last year and really loved, which is called Dragon Unleashed. It's the sequel. It sounds even better to me in terms of like the plot synopsis. It's like about, well, I don't want to give any spoilers from the first book, but it sounds even better. Also, the cover could not be more gorgeous. Like, the cover is beautiful, and I really like Grace Draven. If you're a fantasy reader who is interested in fantasy romance, she is my #1 recommendation I always give people, but she is fantastic. I really love her world building, and her magic systems are always really interesting. So very excited for that. And then last but not least, I don't have any specific release dates for any of the 3 of these books, but all 3 of these are Alona Andrews books that I want to get. First is there should be the final edited version of the latest short novel in the Innkeeper's Chronicles that's coming out. I would guess probably in March, if I were going to guess. The next Iron Covenant book with Hugh and Alara, that should be coming out, I'm going to guess maybe in June or July. And then the new trilogy ramp up in the Hidden Legacy world also should be getting going this year. It's Catriona, I think is her name. She's getting her own little trilogy fun times. So I'm excited for all three of those because hashtag cuz Alona Andrews, basically. So yeah, that was a lot of books. So like I was kind of rambling about in the beginning, I don't know that I will actually get to all of these in 2019, but these are 2019 releases that I would like to get to at some point. So quite a list. We'll see how I do with it. And like I said, I'll also probably check back in maybe sometime in the summer to let you guys know if there's any later in the year releases that we've gotten dates for that I'm gonna read. So hope you guys enjoyed that or found that helpful. I like watching these as just sort of like a reminder of things that are coming up or a way to put things kind of on my radar. So yeah, hope that was helpful or interesting to someone in some way. All that being said, if you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, follow me on the social medias if you are so inclined. I have all that information listed in the description box below. And I think that will do it. I hope you're having an absolutely fantastic day, and I will just talk to you soon. Bye!